What is up, everybody, from our AT&T 5G virtual studios? Welcome on into Group Chat presented by AT&T 5G. I'm Susannah Collins, and it is an incredible Friday because today I am being joined by the one and only Michael Lahoud. This is a former MLSer. This is the guy who is the current color analyst for Austin FC. I am such a huge fan of you and your work, and I have been wanting to work with you for a very long time. And so you're filling in for our guy, Stephen Keel, today. And I just want to welcome you to Group Chat. How are you feeling on this first day of October, Michael Lahoud?
Thank you. Those are very kind words, Susannah. I feel the same about you.
Aww.
I've been following you since you came in with the league, and I just think you and the crew are doing an amazing job as well. And I'm feeling, well, as you can see, pretty verde. So life is good.
As you should be. I love it. And I love this little love fest we're having on a Friday morning. Great way to kick off the weekend. We have so much to talk about today. It's a jam-packed show. But we're going to start with a great moment for MLS, Michael, that we saw on Wednesday evening. The Columbus Crew winning Campeones Cup against Cruz Azul 2-0. I mean, what a perfect scoreline. You heard the crowd there at lower.com field chanting 2-0, 2-0. And I was getting goosebumps. I was like, wow, this is just so poetic. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. I'm going to be real straight with you here. Did not expect this result. I did not. Yeah. We know that the Crew have been struggling this year as defending champions, and it has just fallen flat in 2021 for them. And Cruz Azul, the reigning champs of Liga MX, you look at that team, you look at that attack, and I didn't feel great for Columbus heading into this, but this is MLS, and crazy things happen. A wild game that the scoring started in the 4th minute with an own goal from a beautiful free kick from Lucas Zelarayan, and then Jonathan Mensah putting the cap on it. But I mean, I can't stress enough what a huge match this was for Columbus in terms of their confidence, right? Because it has, as I said, it's not been good for them this year. But for you, Michael, when you look at a result like this for Columbus, a team that's sitting outside the playoff line right now as we speak, what can a win like this do for them?
It can be everything. It shows you what happens when sometimes getting away from your possession-oriented style and being the underdog and getting a taste of that, it can change the course of a season. And really, this was a game where I felt like the reigning MLS Cup MVP, Lucas Zelarayan, he's been doing this throughout the season. The Columbus Crew, a bunch of their points have been on the backs of two players, Zelarayan being the main catalyst for their attack, and Gyasi Zardes in spurts. Now, Jonathan Mensah, I think he was the big difference maker leading that back line. When they went through that rough patch, losing game after game after game, it felt like it was the free fall. It was also aligned with the entrance of the new stadium, which is always difficult to get adapted to, and you lose some of that home edge. And I don't know if that's because of the players being a little bit more uncomfortable playing in a new stadium, but away teams, they felt like it was more of a home match for them. They were more aggressive when they'd come and play against the Crew. But Jonathan Mensah at his best is a Columbus Crew at their best. Whenever you're trying to defend a championship, you have to build on your defensive laurels and then give time and space for the offense to tick. Columbus, in tight games and in big games, set pieces are often the difference makers for them. Mensah steps up and delivers when it counts most.
Wow. I love giving love to Jonathan Mensah, who is not only an incredible defender, but also just an outstanding human being. Really awesome. Really awesome to see that moment for him and to get your insight on that kind of player. I was so taken aback. I thought Darlington Nagbe played so beautifully in that match. I mean, he was just controlling that midfield. The way he is able to just kind of shake people off and maneuver in tight spaces is just something. He makes it look so easy. And I don't know. It was just one of these very complete performance for Columbus. And I mean, right now they're sitting in 9th place. Okay. They're in 5 points off the playoff line. Do you think that they can make a push and get above the playoff line, make it into the postseason this year? Can it spur them?
I think I'm still 50-50 on this
Yeah.
Columbus team. I want to see what they do with this newfound confidence and this result. In the last couple games, they've started piecing together a couple results. They've kind of ceded possession in some of those games, and you nailed it with Darlington Nagbe. Darlington Nagbe at his best is when he's playing next to Artur, who's been out for a while. I think Artur has been when you have a defensive midfielder, you don't see them shine when you're winning 6-0, 7-0, 5-0, 4-0, 3-0 even. I was going to count down all the way to 1. Artur's presence, he gives stability and he gives the defensive kind of prowess for this team that allows the likes of Zelerion and the Nagbys to step up. We've seen a more complete version of Darlington Nagbe defensively and offensively. And man, Susannah, I wanted to put the white glove on him and just call him a smooth operator like Michael Jackson. The way he wriggles off of players, just like that. This guy is a legend.
It is. He really is. He's so beautiful to watch. He's one of these players that like literally encapsulates the beautiful game. I am just like, how do you do that, sir? So it's underappreciated, I would say. But again, just a huge result for Columbus Crew, a huge result for MLS, who historically has struggled in these sort of championship matches against Liga MX. So a very positive result for Columbus and for MLS as a whole. All right. Woo! Moving on to our our group text. So this is a segment called Group Text, Michael. And in group text, it's always like, what are we talking about? What's the big sort of elephant in the room? And right now it's the coaching vacancies that we are seeing in MLS right now. Okay. It's been a rough few weeks to be an MLS coach, because a few weeks ago we saw Dallas say farewell to Lucci. Then Jaap Stam is out at Cincinnati. And then Wednesday night after Campeones Cup, I was literally going into bed. All of a sudden the news breaks that Chicago is parting ways with Rafael Vicky. So, it's been a little bit nuts and tumultuous. We've had 8 coaching changes in MLS in 2021. There's currently 6 vacancies if you look around the league. So we have Dallas, Cincinnati, RSL, Vancouver, and Chicago. Now, we should mention that Toronto, Javier Perez will stay as his position as a head coach for Toronto through the end of this season. But after that, it's TBD. We're not sure. But this has been, again, it's accountability, right? If the results aren't there, then it always seemingly seems like the coach is the first one to kind of take the fall. When you look at all of these vacancies, Michael, which one? There's urgency for all of them, but which one do you think they have to get this right? They have to get the next coach right. Which team to you is sort of in that position?
It has to be the team at the top, Skyline Chili FC Cincinnati, because that's how they've been playing since they got into MLS. It's just gone wrong from day one, starting with Alan Koch and just falling from there. And the onus at some point has to fall on Jeff Birding. Whenever you have an expansion team, yes, year one is expansion woes. It's very rare that you get the Chicago Fire, who had that just Cinderella run to a championship in year one, and then LAFC and Atlanta United, they're just lightnings in a bottle. Everyone else has had their woes, but you can't have this rocky road of coaches, this revolving door. And this next coach, it has to be one who brings stability. If you're Cincinnati, the fans just want results at this point. Forget tiki-taka. It's all about results and being competitive. They've had spurts of that. I think the likes of Lucho Acosta, he's one heck of a player. He's another player that gets my white glove award for being slippery and clean on the dribble. And also, I think a team that needs to get it right, Toronto FC. They have been a staple in getting to MLS Cups in the last couple seasons. I think the debacle with Josie Altidore, that has to be sorted, whether you're going to keep him or looks like they're going to ship him out. That'd be one of the first orders of business and rebuild from there. And then, but it starts with getting a new coach, and they better be, and not should be, they better be in the hunt for a new coach like yesterday.
Could not agree more with that assessment. I want to point out too that it was just announced, I believe, late last night that Chris Albright is going to be Cincy's new GM. So they poached him. This is reported. This has not been confirmed. Okay, this is from Stam Stejskal. Wow. But if this is true, and Stam Stejskal is usually right on the nose on these things, they are getting him from Philly, where he served as technical director. So this is, and his first order of business will be naming a new head coach. So that's a lot of pressure to walk into that situation. But if you look at Philly and that organization and that club, I feel like this is a step in the right direction for Cincy. It seems like, as you mentioned, a guy like Jeff Birding maybe, should not be the one to make those decisions. So this is this is a positive sign for them. One thing I wanted to ask you about. So earlier this week on Extra Time, the guys discussed that Bob Bradley is out of contract after this season. So, and there are, as we see, a bunch of coaching vacancies. Could you see Bob Bradley going elsewhere, maybe taking on a new challenge in this league, maybe Toronto, maybe one of the teams you mentioned? What do you think of that possibility?
I could see Bob leaving LAFC. This LAFC team, and we'll touch on it, I'm sure, later on in the show, but this LAFC team, they've had this core group of players, Bob being at the heart of it, and they've fallen short when it's counted most in the playoffs. And sometimes when you're that close, that 2019 season, I was there at that game watching it live, the Western Conference Finals, and they just lacked that cutting edge because they've been so dependent on some key figures like Carlos Vela, Diego Rossi, who's now moved on. But Bob Bradley, I think he's got to go and find a new challenge. If you're Bob, yes, the pressure and the determination of getting that championship that's been missing for LAFC, that's a motivating factor. But why not go to greener pastures and reinvent yourself? Really, he reinvented himself coming from Europe to LAFC. Yep. It was a different sort of Bob, and really Bob in the Sambas and the black bomber jacket. I mean, I went home and started wearing a black bomber jacket once I saw it. I was like, if Bob can do that, I can do that. Come on, shout out to you, Bob, for that. But I think it's time for a new challenge if you're Bob. And I'm a romantic. I'm a football romantic. Yeah. I want him to go to Chicago, where it all began for him. They're in need of a little Bob Bradley.
This Chicago gal would love that. All right, let's move it along let's take a look at the standings, huh? Because this is fun. What the Eastern Conference is nuts, okay? Because we have seen everything is moving and shaking. We've got DC United up to third place after a 3-1 win against Minnesota. And then spots 4 through 7, okay? Look at that, 39 points. And then Montreal has fallen below the playoff line. They were solidly in there. They're only 2 points below at 37 points. Columbus, as we talked about, they're still in the hunt at 34. This has been wild. And I am so excited for this last sort of month of the season, because that it's not going to look like this come decision day. Like, there is going to just be moves all over the place. Michael, what team are you looking at that you think could potentially make it above that playoff line? I'm looking at Montreal, but what about for you?
I agree with that with Montreal. Very solid team and defensive unit. But the team that I'm just going to put it out there right now, the second half of the season, you never know what you're going to get from them. The South Florida Kings, the South Beach Kings, Inter Miami. Who would have thunk? I'm going to say you heard it here first on group chat.
Wow.
I'm hedging my Bucks on Inter Miami. The British are coming. The invasion are coming. Bex and his boys. I expect them. just when you think they're going to win a game, they'll lose 3-0. But especially against big teams, they'll get results.
They give me whiplash.
And when you have a fit Gonzalo Higuain and whoever is his personal trainer, keep that man away from just Collins Ave and just keep him motivated and keep this man hungry for goals and not something else. Because when he's hungry for goals, this guy is a legend. This guy can destroy whatever team.
Wow. Oh my God. I am so excited because we're going to dive into Miami a little bit when we look at their game against Portland later. So this is going to be fun. I love that you're in on Miami. This is great. All right, let's move it on over to the Western Conference. What are you looking at in the West, Michael?
Oh, two teams, third place and fourth place. There are two teams that have catapulted themselves and really benefited from this second half of the season. Colorado Rapids, who unfortunately put a demolition derby on my Austin FC boys on Wednesday, but they're a solid team. Mm-hmm. I think they're a playoff team, obviously, in where they're sitting. But I wouldn't want to play them. And of course, you can't talk about the Western Conference if you don't talk about the Portland Timbers.
Yeah.
Ever since they got a hiding in Q2 Stadium by Austin FC, it woke them up, and they've been on a tear. Nobody wants to play Portland. Portland doesn't even want to play Portland in a weekly scrimmage with how hot they've been. So I think those two teams, they're going to make a lot of noise.
I love it. This is my favorite time of the year, man. I live for this. It's going to get wild, and we all need to buckle up. All right, let's get into some of our game previews for this weekend because we have some awesome matchups to look forward to, starting with Austin taking on RSL. That game at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday on Unimas, TUDN, Twitter, and DAZN. All right, let's talk about your Los Verdes. Okay. All right. So they broke a 5-game losing streak when they beat the Galaxy. But then, as you mentioned, they lose to a very good Colorado team. Now, Brad Stuver wrote this letter to fans that just, what a guy. He's such a good guy. But it basically, was thanking the fans and kind of telling them, he said, our goal now is to push in this last stretch of games and prove to everyone that what we are capable of. Together, we will accomplish anything we set our minds to. Together, we can make the next 9 games a true reflection of not just who we are as individuals, but more importantly, who we are as a club. So what does that mean to you, Michael? Right now, they're sitting at the bottom of the Western Conference standings. What will success look like for this Austin team this last month of the season?
I think success looks like winning your home games. Q2 Stadium, I'm very biased, but I think it's the coolest stadium in the league. The league hasn't seen anything like it. I mean, the Verde lights, there's Verde everything. As Andrew Wiebe says, maybe I should take my Verde glasses off, but I'm keeping them on, Wiebe, because it's all about Verde this Saturday. The thing with Austin FC that I'd like to see change, not just for the last couple games, but also into next year, is consistency. Mm-hmm. Consistency is so hard to get from a expansion team, but they have enough players down the spine of the team to be able to breed more consistency. And it starts with the captain, Alex Ring, in the middle of the park. He's played in a couple different roles. He's played as a holding midfielder. We've typically seen him play Wednesday. He played as a center back, which he's played at times with New York City FC. He's played as an attacking midfielder. I mean, just you might see him at striker at some point with the rate the changes go. But I'm excited about this weekend's game, not just for the Alex Rings and the Brad Stuvers to take the field, but Austin FC have been dying for a center forward most of the season. They've been playing without a center forward, and I think they finally found one in Moussa Gite. Release the Moose, as my broadcast partner Adrian Healy always says, and the Moose has arrived. He had a well-taken goal against LA Galaxy on Sunday Night Football, ESPN, bright lights, and just a striker's instinct and seeing how his strength and power, but really that selfishness that you need in a striker, how it galvanized the rest of the team to give them the confidence that if they can defend and soak up pressure, they now have a striker who can hold the ball up and score a goal when it matters most. And that's in Moussa Jite.
I love it. I love it. I do think that, you know, we talk about kind of the growing pains that a lot of expansion sides face in their first season, and teams like LAFC and Atlanta come along and kind of like paint this unrealistic picture for everybody about what it's actually like, because that's really, really hard to do. But I think that there are a lot of positives to take away from the season for Austin. And as you said, just kind of building on that, you know, they're still figuring it out. But if they can end this season on a strong note, I think that bodes really, really well for 2022. I am dying to get to that stadium. Just like Austin is such a great city anyway, and then to add in this like incredible soccer culture that they've built there, I'm dying. I really need to get there. On the other side of this one, we have RSL, and this is they've been an interesting team this year, right? So they're fifth place in Western Conference right now on 39 points. They had that big 2-1 win over the Galaxy, the goal from Anderson Julio in extra time, and they are a team that, oh my gosh, when they are clicking offensively, they look so dangerous. That Rusnak-Krylak combo is like insane and can produce these just absolutely ridiculous moments. But then, Michael, they're a team that also give up a lot of goals. So as pretty as it can be on the offensive side, they can also have these sort of defensive breakdowns. They've given up 15 goals in the last 6 games, and even in this last game, I mean, David Ochoa had to play lights out for them. He had to come up with some really, really big saves on the defensive end. Is this an RSL team that you think could legitimately go on a bit of a postseason run? What do you think?
I don't think so, because they're an RSL team that a lot of their points have come at home. It's so hard to go play at altitude, and especially at Rio Tinto. Rio Tinto, for when Salt Lake teams have been at their best, Rio Tinto is a fortress. And I remember as a player, gosh, I've lost teeth there, I've lost cleats, and I've lost a ton of points at Rio Tinto Stadium. So I can tell you firsthand that it's not an easy place to play. But this season's RSL team, their Achilles heel has been going on the road. When they go on the road, they're too dependent on Rusnak and Krylak. Krylak, I think he's a real deal. Rusnak getting better the second half of the season, but I'm looking for some of their other players to step up. I think Bobby Wood and Rubin started the season really well, but kind of lost his way. But Anderson Julio, speed kills. And against Austin FC, speed has always been the X factor. Austin FC's backline isn't the fastest, and they've struggled at times. I think of the FC Dallas game, Vancouver, teams that boast rapid players. Jonathan Lewis troubled them with his speed. Aptly playing for a team because he is rapid, playing for the Colorado Rapids. And so I think if Anderson Julio starts, that could be the biggest X factor for the team. But RSL, they never give up. Even if they're down 3 goals, they're going to fight all the way through. So it's going to be an entertaining game, afternoon kick at Q2 Stadium. So I know I'll be watching.
Oh man! Oh God! I'm gonna have so much FOMO. It's not even fair. All right, time now for our 22 under 22 presented by Body Armor Stockwatch Player Spotlight, and we are going to talk about a guy that you have watched and know well. Daniel Pereira from Austin is selected first by Austin in the 2021 Super Draft from Virginia Tech. So Austin has 6 wins in 2021, and he was involved in each of those wins. 4 starts, 2 subs in those games. What do you like about Daniel? What do you like about his game? What does he bring to the table?
What I love about him is his ability to get on the ball and dribble past players. In their first win, we call it Denver Day at Austin FC, where they took over Colorado, Commerce City technically, but they took over Colorado nonetheless. And Austin FC fans showing up, and they were rewarded with his ability to drive through the heart of that Rapids midfield and then just play those splitting passes. What I'd like to see him evolve into, you saw it on that graphic, only 1 assist. He's a rookie, but I think that he could be more of an offensive presence for this team. He's fallen into more of a deep-lying playmaker role, playing as a 6 alongside Tomas Pochettino in the Galaxy game, and even last game against the Rapids. but I'd like to see Josh Wolf give him more offensive responsibility, because in preseason, this kid was getting assists and just dictating the tempo of the midfield and the team as a rookie.
Love it. He's been a fun one to watch. Looking forward to that 22 under 22 list coming out, because I have a feeling we're going to see him fairly high on that list, which is really exciting and good news for Austin. All right. Let's move along to some more game previews, shall we? We have a great one between Montreal and Atlanta coming up on Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus. So these are two Eastern Conference teams that are kind of like trending in opposite directions right now. So Montreal, as we mentioned, fell below the playoff line. They were solidly in there for a long stretch. And then Atlanta, all of the sudden, I mean, they had this like horrendous sort of summer slump and then just have come alive. They have won 8 of their last 10 games. They're coming off a huge win, 1-0 win against Miami, which was a big game for them, because they had come off a loss to Philly. And this was a statement game for them, where it was like, you need to win this game. You need to get all 3 points to convince people that this is legitimate, that this run that you're making is actually the real deal. And then, of course, it's Joseph Martinez coming up from the penalty spot, scoring his 100th MLS goal, which is just mind-boggling. He is the fastest player in MLS history to reach that milestone. Absolutely insane. And then, so you've got this Atlanta team that's sort of rejuvenated, right? Like Gonzalo Pineda has come in and they are believing in what he's selling. Guys are playing really, really well. It looks like the system is working for them. And then Montreal, a good defensive team, but suddenly, we're looking at them outside of the playoff line, and it's like, do they have enough firepower? Is there enough there? You have to give a huge amount of credit to Wilfred Nancy for what he has been able to do this season with not a lot of big names, but is there enough, Michael? What are we watching for in this matchup?
I'm watching for the likes of, really, they're so dependent on their attacking midfielder, Mihalovic, who is one of the league leaders in assists, quietly making his way up the ladder. Mm-hmm. But I think they're missing consistency at the forward position, the striker position. In MLS, there's 2 ingredients that you need to be a playoff team, bare minimum. A solid striker who can hold up the ball or just be a menace. He doesn't have to necessarily score all the goals, but he has to be a menace. And goal-scoring wingers. I think they play a 3-5-2. So your wingers are going to be your outside backs. Their outside backs aren't prolific goal scorers or assist getters. I think that's been something that's hurt them in the second half of the season. First half of the season, outside backs were getting assists and goals. And it's put so much pressure on the front 3 to come up with goals and everything. And they're getting goals, but now, like you said, they're starting to trend in the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. This is not the time to be doing that. Yeah. Points are at a premium. And they've been the beneficiary of, when they get a win, the next game, they get a draw. Mm-hmm. But now, when you're battling to get over that line, wins. Draws get you a very minimum. And if you're going to get a draw, make sure you're getting a draw against one of the top 5 teams. You can live with that. That's as good as a win during this period. But they're going to be up against an Atlanta United team who is, they're spitting hot fire right now in front of goal. That dynamic duo of Ezequiel Barco and Joseph Martinez, since Barco has come back from the Olympics, he has been a man reborn. They have a new coach, and coaching changes seem to galvanize teams and breathe life into teams. And also, Barco, his dynamic plays, he's getting goals and assists. I think he's been the talisman for this team, driving them forward. And Joseph Martinez, he's now getting service. He's not just the only one leading attacks. Barco's in there. And even Moreno. Geez, we're talking about will he, won't he? Well, he's starting to deliver too for Atlanta.
Yeah, this is the same when we talked about Portland, and we'll get to them in just a bit. But like, I would not want to face Atlanta right now. This is a team that is getting hot at precisely the right moment. And there is just there's a level of confidence. There's a level of swagger that we are seeing from this team that was completely absent during the summer. And yeah, I would not they're going to be tough. They are going to, I'm calling it now, they will be in the playoffs, and they are going to be a very hard team to beat. You heard it here first, probably not first, but whatever. It's fine. I like to claim things, listen, gotta help my own cause here. All right, let's move it along to a Western, or it's not Western, it's the Portland Timbers taking on Miami. So West versus East, but Portland Timbers taking on Miami, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Fox Deportes, and DAZN on Sunday. Okay, so we talked about Atlanta. We're going to talk about Portland in kind of the same vein, because this is just a team that is on exceptional form right now. They're unbeaten in their last 7 games. You are seeing them get goals and contributions from all over the place. Blanco, Mora, Chara, both Charas, Darren Asprilla, Nishgoda, who is back and also scoring goals. This is a very, very dangerous team because they have so many weapons. And for me, this is all about Sebastian Blanco. Okay? Because this man is, I can't overstate the importance of him to this team, because when he is out there, they are just a well-oiled machine. It is him. He is the sort of heart and soul of that team. And last year, before he went down with that ACL tear, he was my pick to win MLS MVP. The guy was absolutely, he was unbelievable. And since he's been back, since he came back in August, we are seeing that. We are seeing kind of that same version of him. He hasn't lost it. So there's some interesting stats that I want to share. So Portland in 2021, since he came back on August 15th, they are 6-2-2 with 21 goals. Okay. Before Blanco's first start. So this is everything before August. They were 7-8-2 with 23 goals. So they have basically scored almost as many goals with him on the field as they did for months and months with him not being there. And I think that just sort of reiterates my point about the importance of this guy on Portland. They are well coached. I love Gio Savarese. Again, just all the weapons. This is a team that is very scary. Very scary.
I couldn't agree with you more, Susannah. I used to play for Gio, and he is a player's coach. When you get a coach like him, hashtag Heart Gio, we love Gio, hashtag Gio. But when you have a player like Sebastian Blanco coming back from injury and getting a goal in one of his first couple games in a rivalry game, Cascadia Cup game, like against Seattle, that boosts his confidence. But more than anything, it boosts the confidence of the team. And Portland, they took a shellacking against the Sounders in that game. But what they didn't win in points, they gained in a more confident Sebastian Blanco. He gained confidence not just in his ability to play the game again, but also in his body.
Yeah.
That's a difficult injury to come back on. Whenever you have a knee or anything lower body, it's grueling. Any player who's had a career in the league, they've all had to go through some injury setbacks and coming back. But his mentality, he gives that cutting edge that they were lacking before. Playing him central and attacking midfielder, I love it. We've seen Diego Valeri, who's now become a role player, the elder statesman. What a luxury that is.
I know, right?
Have a former MLS MVP coming off the bench. Oh, yeah, that I'm sure teams want to see that. But what Blanco gives is he gives the unpredictable. He's able to beat you off the dribble. He can kickstart a counter, and Portland has become more of a counterattack team. Before, with Valeri in there, they were more of a possession team, death by 10,000 passes. Now they sit back. I think Fochive coming in as a defensive midfielder, it's freed up Diego Chara to bomb forward more as a box-to-box midfielder. And when Diego Chara goes forward, it's the Chara to Chara, Chara Brothers production. They should be a band right by their stadium because they're playing good tunes and just balling out right now. But the heart of everything is Sebastian Blanco. His ability to also shoot from long distance, you have to respect it because we've seen him deliver that in MLS playoff games. Sporting Kansas City, I know you remember that one.
I sure do.
Josh, he seemed to hit that from, the Kansas-Missouri state line into the top corner. So the Timbers, everything is rolling. There's definitely some Portland Timber magic flowing in the air.
Indeed, there is. All right, on the other side, Miami. Now, listen, Michael, you said it. You're in on this Miami team, and here's me thinking, did that really happen? That 6-match unbeaten streak, did that actually happen for them? Because suddenly, like defensively, I was like, oh, they figured it out. They've stopped leaking goals at the back. And then the last 3 games, they've given up like 10 goals. And so I'm just wondering, was that little upswing we saw a complete facade? Was I duped? Was I pulled into thinking that, perhaps this Miami team could be legit? And you're saying, no, that was not a fluke. It was not a fluke. Tell me why.
I think any team that can go on a run, especially if they can find a bit of form in the second half of the season, you can recreate that. Miami, they changed their formation. Mm-hmm. At times they had a back 3, and whenever you do a back 3, that means that you're going to be more defensive minded and hit teams on the counter. They have the Higuain brothers. This is going to be a brother to brother bash if Federico can get the start with the Char brothers and the Higuain brothers. But they had Higuain getting goals, and really the difference maker for them offensively was Pizarro. Mm-hmm. It looked like he decided he wanted to play, and he was motivated. And the international break comes at a right time for this Miami team. International breaks tend to stop the bleeding. And a player like Pizarro, he'll be motivated if he wants to continue in the Mexican national team fold, because to be a part of that Mexican national team now, highly competitive midfield in Mexico, you have to play, and you have to be playing well, because if you don't, the next guy will come along and take your spot. Pizarro, he's been relegated to the bench for the national team, at times relegated to the bench. A big call by head coach Philip Neville to put him to the bench at times for Miami. He'll need to deliver. I think he's going to be the X factor and a guy who has to have a very good game if Miami are going to get anything out of this game. Great insight. Such a good point about the Mexican national team as well. Motivation, man. It's amazing. It's amazing what lighting that little fire does. All right, let's move it along to our final preview. This is another edition of El Traffico. All right, we've got the LA Galaxy taking on LAFC Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Deportes, also on DAZN. There are different vibes around this installment of El Traffico. Am I right, Michael? Oh yeah. Like this just feels this feels a little different because these are 2 LA teams. Typically, we are used to seeing LAFC, making a huge run at this time of year. Sitting pretty in the standings. Not so much this year. Also, the Galaxy, who at one time they started out the season so strong, they were sitting comfortably in the playoff spots, but now they're down to 6th place, 38 points. They only have 1 win in their last 10 matches. So these are 2 teams that are struggling and in this kind of like weird spot right now. We've got the last El Traffico was a 3-3 draw. Let's talk about the Galaxy first, because as I mentioned, a huge, just a hot start to the season. Chicharito was scoring goals just left and right. And then obviously just kind of, it slowed down. He suffered an injury, so he was missing some time. What do you think? Where did it kind of change for them? Where did the shift happen for the LA Galaxy? Because Chicharito, after the loss to RSL, he said that they're just 1 result away from kind of getting this momentum back. Do you believe that? Do you think that's entirely true? No. I think Chicharito is being very positive. They're free falling right now. Yeah. We were talking about them being title contenders, being supporter shield contenders after the first 10 games of the season. Not just the loss of Chicharito Hernandez with the injury, but the timing of the Gold Cup, the Nations League, and just the international dates in the summer. That's when you saw this team just start just nosediving down the standings. And when you get so many points at the start of the season, I remember this, my rookie year, at Mighty Chivas USA, so great, don't exist. But at Chivas USA, we came out of the gates. First 12 games, didn't lose a game. And I mean, we were in a different stratosphere. We felt like looking down in the standings at all the other teams. We went through a poor summer period, and we're able to get results towards the end of the season, the last 7 or 8 games to kickstart a little bit of momentum, really to just get us in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But what we did in losing those games, we lost that fear factor that we had at the start of the season. Teams didn't fear us anymore. They started realizing if we shut down these 3 or 4 players, I'd like to say that some of them say, if we shut down the rookie, Michael Lahoud. No one was saying that year. but teams started figuring us out and say, if we shut down these handful of players, then we can beat these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And LA Galaxy, it's been where the goals coming from outside of Traffico, which it's forget the tactics, throw them out the window.
Yeah.
There will be goals in this rivalry game. That's been a precedent that's set and continued. But I think I'd be worried if you're a Galaxy fan. The good news is Chicharito did score a beautiful ball-taken team goal to come back. So that is very good news for them. But I'd like to see the supporting cast get back. Victor Vasquez, he's been a player that seems to have missed having a player like Hernandez around. Kevin Cabral, his speed. He scored a couple goals against LAFC last time out. His speed and dynamic movement, there has to just yield more offensive production. Grand Cyr, I think he should get the start over Cabral, or maybe play both of them, because in this league, speed kills, and LAFC does not do well with speed on the field.
Yeah. So on the other side of this is LAFC, which, we've touched on a bit, but it almost feels like we're at this very pivotal point with this club where we're kind of on the waning days of the LAFC that we once knew. It feels like it is all kind of about to, I don't want to say blow up, but seismic changes coming for this club. There's a Carlos Vela contract situation where we don't know if he's going to be back. There have been rumors out there that he is talking to some teams in other leagues, including Liga MX. The Bob Bradley contract situation, we don't know if he's coming back. We've already seen them lose guys like Marc-Anthony Kaye and Diego Rossi, and these players that were such a fabric of the identity of that team. And they're gone. And then we could see even some more shifts there. So it almost feels like they're sort of clinging to this identity that is no longer really who they are, if that makes sense. I'm getting very existential here.
Yeah.
But again, they're in 9th place right now. They're not in the playoff picture as we speak. They're on 33 points. They've had 3 consecutive losses. What is realistic for LAFC, considering the state that they are in this sort of period of transition right now, Michael?
I think realistically, they have enough pieces to just scrape into the playoffs. Their inconsistencies have come on the road, as you see with most teams that miss the playoff line, is they don't really get points on the road. They started picking up a bit of form until they ran into the Portland Timbers, who they will not want to see again. In the last couple of games, the Portland has had the upper hand.
Yeah.
They could say that about everyone they've played recently, but they'll be happy to not have to play Portland again. Rivalry games are the best ways to stoke a fire in your team and get back on track. And this game, there will be fireworks. There's always been fireworks. I think a player that excites me about this team that gives them a chance is Christian Arango. This guy, he's built like your typical star-studded South American strikers, just low center of gravity, strong as an ox, built kind of like a Sergio Aguero. And gosh, there's a streak that if he keeps going, I'll be a bigger fan of his. Is his ability to draw fouls and penalty kicks in the final third. He did it against Austin FC with some of his movement. Just so clever. Has the audacity to go after 2 or 3 guys, even if he's the only attacker in the box. He can skin you on the dribble, can finish, can score with his head, but he can't do it alone. Jose Cifuentes, he's been a revelation for them. I like him in the attacking midfield position. Him and Edward Atuesta, they're starting to get some chemistry. I think Cifuentes has been the breakout player for them alongside Arango in this second half of the season. But in the back, I just think that's where their frailties lie.
Yeah.
They've played this 3-back system, and at times a young player like Mamadou Fall, who I would put on that 22 under 22 list, he's really revealed himself. So athletic, so dynamic, but he's still young. Sometimes he'll get caught out of position depending on where he plays in that back three. But I think that back three, if they play a back three against the Galaxy, I think that will be where their Achilles heel comes if they end up missing the playoff line.
Yeah, this is I'm so intrigued by this match coming up on Sunday, because again, like you said, it's just kind of like it's two teams. This is a rivalry that always produces really, really exciting moments, but just considering where both of these teams are at right now, I'm very intrigued to see what the outcome will be. Again, this match on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the slate for the weekend, because we've got some great matchups for y'all to look forward to. Saturday, of course, that Austin-Portland match, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Urimas, TUDN, and Twitter. Montreal-Atlanta is going to be fun. I'm watching that one, that game at 7 p.m. We've got Orlando, DC, Vancouver, San Jose. There are huge implications. These are big 3 points up for grabs, people. This is the time of the year. I love it. And then on Sunday, we've got SKC taking on Houston, 4 p.m. on Unimas, TUDN, Twitter. Philly, Colorado. That's going to be fun. 4 p.m. We've got that Portland-Miami match at 5:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1 and Fox Deportes. And then, of course, we wrap things up with El Traffico, the LA Galaxy hosting LAFC, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. Michael Lahoud, come back anytime you want, because this has been absolutely delightful. I can't stress enough. You have one of the savviest, smartest soccer brains working right now. And I love your work for Austin and everything that you said today. Just incredible insight. So thank you so much for stepping in for Stephen Keel, because it was awesome. You crushed it.
Thank you so much. That seriously, that means a lot coming from you. And, we'll have to put the heart shape. Thank you. Soon.
Love it. Friends for life. We're going to start a whole new group chat right now. We love it. Guys, enjoy all the soccer this weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.